What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection, because this is just so great. I've been playing it for about a week, and seriously, this is a top-notch collection. To be quite frank, I feel like, honestly, a lot of these nostalgia collections lately have kind of sucked. They either have bad resolution, bad selections of games, a lot of times they run badly, whereas this is completely perfect. It has 13 separate games in perfect functionality, all of them look great, they have special TV filters, added stuff like online play, save states, rewind features. I want to go through all of it because this has seriously been such a blast to play. I've been playing them solo, I've been playing them co-op. Let's just dig into this. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big ol' like because it does help out, and also subscribe if you haven't already. Now, what is the Cowabunga Collection? This is basically the first 13 Ninja Turtle games that ever came out. Now, to a fan like me, a guy who obviously grew up in the 90s, this is just freaking mind-blowing. A lot of these games completely established the first beat-em-ups ever. Like, straight up, not just in the arcade, they made these great console ports. This is games that existed on the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the original Nintendo, Game Boy, and of course those arcade ones, which were exceedingly rare. Some of these have only existed inside of the arcade, so this is the first time ever, I believe, that these have actually been released on consoles, and the fact that they run so great is just huge cherry on top. But before we talk about each of the games individually, I do want to quickly talk about some of the added features, because this is by far my favorite part. So this is of course a bunch of different beat-em-ups, it's fighting games, it's a bunch of stuff that involves the Ninja Turtles, the classics we love so much. But what these have that's extra interesting to me is that some of these games did not run the best on their original hardware. Because these games were such power pushers, they really maxed out their ancient pieces of tech when they initially were released. So they had problems like sprite flickering or screen slowdown, where if there was like 5 guys on screen, the game itself would actually decelerate. You'd have frame rate problems and stuff as it compensated. Whereas now, we're in the freaking future and we don't have problems like that. You can actually just go into the menu and easily flip off the flickering characters, the slowdown, everything. You can just straight up customize the game experience to be as perfect as you want. There's even screen filters, so you can change it so the game actually simulates those classic tube TVs, the CRT filters, or if you wanted to match your current tastes. I find that to be incredibly cool as a fan, but I've been playing it as what I call pixel perfect. I've been playing it the upscaled native looking version because to me it's just freaking gorgeous. So many of these games, even if they are old school, I just feel like the sprites have aged incredibly well. A lot of these animations, a lot of this music, they still look as good as they did back in the day, and I don't think that's nostalgia goggles. I personally think that's just a testament to how well these kinds of graphics age. I mean, it still looks so crisp because your imagination sort of lays perfectly atop it. Now, real quick, let me list off the 13 games while I show them on the screen here. There's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the arcade, Turtles in Time from the arcade. There's TMNT, which was released on the original Nintendo way back in the early 80s. Then there was a game that was called Turtles 2, the arcade game. That was released on the original Nintendo, and it's basically like a demake. It's still incredibly fun. Then there's Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project. So there's actually 3 separate games called Tournament Fighters, and all of these are very, very bonkers. They're actually games where the turtles are fighting aliens, or the Ninja Turtles are actually fighting against each other and evil clones, and April O'Neil becomes a boxer. All the fighting games, I'll be clear, I don't think they're good. I think they're actually kind of quirky and weird and broken and not very well balanced. But they're so freaking fun to play. I'm laughing so hard. I'm sorry about that. Something about these turtles actually beating each other up is the funniest thing. The fighting games, I don't think they're well balanced, but they're just incredibly quirky to play. So we have those, and then we also have, of course, the 3 Game Boy games, which I was personally a giant fan of. So there's Follow the Foot Clan, there's Turtles 2 Back from the Sewers, and Turtles 3 Radical Rescue. All 3 of these came out on the original Game Boy. I am super obsessed with the original Game Boy, so the fact that they actually threw these in here is super 10 out of 10 impressive. These games look so freaking good. I'm glad they didn't try and add in all sorts of color filters or try and simulate the Game Boy Color. I think these games were designed to be in black and white, and they still look great in black and white. But But this brings me to the added features they've put inside of these. So in all of the games, there's two separate things that definitely impressed me, which is that there is a rewind feature they've coded into this. Whenever you want, you can just hold the shoulder button and it will rewind about 30 seconds. And for a lot of these things, especially the original Nintendo levels, those could be incredibly tough. In fact, I didn't even mention they actually have the Sega Genesis game Hyperstone Heist. They have the Super Nintendo game Turtles in Time. They have literally the first 13 Ninja Turtles games in here all stacked on top. And some of these can be a little bit unforgiving at times. They were made to eat your quarters up, especially if you're playing the arcade versions. These games are made to pummel you into the pavement. So the fact that you can rewind or restart a level whenever you want, using the menu, you can actually purposely just jump to a specific level. So if you're just trying to see the parts you love the most, or if you've already beaten the game and you don't want to replay it just to see that last boss a second time, it really lets you play the way you want. But there's also save states. You can create a sort of like slice of the game and restart there whenever you want. You can save and load. It's just like a great quick save timestamp, which again, for a lot of these games that didn't even have a saving system, this is incredibly fantastic. A couple of these games also have online functionality. Not all of them, but a few of them actually allow you to play over the internet with other people. I did couch co-op for this and I played it with a friend who had never played any Turtles game, and she thought this was like the greatest thing ever. I'm kind of fanboying because just seeing these games again as a nostalgia fan, just recreated so gorgeously, this is exactly what we wanted. Everybody else, take notes. This is what a collection should be. It's a great lesson about the fact that we don't necessarily want them to completely remake these games from scratch. Sometimes it is just about keeping that original essence instilled. Now, this is the weird part. So you can play these games in English or Japanese. They actually have different versions. 11 of these games can be played in their particular region if you want, which doesn't seem to be really that different. It just changes the menus and some of the sounds it sounds like, but that's still pretty neat. You can change the button mapping. So if you want to try and customize the controls to fit your tastes, because let's face it, some of the button mapping here is a little bit archaic because these games are 20 and 30 years old and stuff. One of the features they added into this that I don't feel like was completely necessary, but I'm very appreciative of it, is this thing they call the museum or theater mode, which lets you go through and look at like weird art from the original cartoon shows, which is pretty neat. It's got like these 4K scans of every single one of the boxes art in like different regions and stuff. It's got print ads, so you can actually see all those old school magazine articles hyping us up for the games. I read these a lot. Part of the reason I became a YouTuber is because I would obsessively memorize game reviews and magazines and stuff. So seeing them here is incredibly freaking nostalgic. They also did stuff like they scanned hundreds of the comic books. It's not the actual stories, unfortunately. It's just the covers and the art, but a lot of this stuff actually predates the original Ninja Turtles. So you can see back when these guys were murdering people. Like, it's interesting that they decided to put in all this historic elements of Turtles and not just the games. I really can't think of a single gripe, but additionally, it is a little bit hard to try and put a number on this. A lot of times when it comes to nostalgic collections, it comes down to your personal tastes. So for once, typically I end my reviews by putting a big number on it. I'm just going to say that this game is a 10 because it is a 10 to me. But it's also whatever you want. If you are looking for the Cowabunga Collection, if you are looking for a big set of Turtles-ness from the ancient past, this is great. I mean, honestly, if you have kids, buy this and play this with them. If you're an adult, buy it because it's these old school games just finally faithfully rebuilt. Or even if you're somebody like me who's got friends and we love to play games again and again and again, this is a huge bang for the buck. I don't regret it at all. I kind of wish I had the big collector's edition they released, just because now I'm certainly in that pizza power mood. But thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. And wow, Konami. A Konami W in 2022. Who would have thought? Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.